percentage. Jimenez usually wins his fights on points with his technical ability. And the rules, the main one there, the 3 knockdown rule, is in effect here. There will be a mandatory 8 count. The bell can only save either fighter in the last round.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please be upstanding for both national anthems?
All set to go here then for the WBO Bantamweight Championship of the World. Robbie Regan at home in Cardiff against the champion Daniel Jimenez.
Ladies and gentlemen, the officials appointed for this contest by the WBO are their supervisor at ringside, Jason Brian La Viga of the Dutch Antilles, the supervisor from the British Boxing Board of Control, Mr. Simon Block of London, and the steward in charge, Lord Brooks of Tremorfa. The judges at ringside this evening appointed by the WBO, Mr. Hank Endrison of Holland, Mr. Michael Fisher of Luxembourg, and Mr. Harry Davis from Canada. The referee in charge of tonight's action from the USA, Mr. Gino Rodriguez, and the timekeeper is Mr. Gordon Pate of Swansea. My lords, ladies and gentlemen, live and exclusive on Europe's premier sports channel, Sky Sports, and ringside on the road from the Welsh Institute of Sport in Cardiff, it's Big Fight Time, promoted by Frank Warren for Sports Network in association with Chris Sanagar and our sponsors, Polygram Videos, who proudly present a contest of 12 3-minute rounds to decide the WBO Bantamweight Championship of the World. Between introducing the boxers and firstly fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the gold trunks with the red trim, coming from Bargoed in Wales, from 21 professional contests, he's had 16 wins, 7 by way of KO, 2 losses and 3 draws. He weighed in at at 8 stone 5 3/4 pounds and comes to the ring as the former undefeated British and European flyweight champion and challenger for the title tonight at the second attempt at a world title for the pride of Wales, Robbie Regan! And across the ring, ladies and gentlemen, in the red corner, wearing the black trunks trimmed with silver, coming from Puerto Rico, from 28 professional contests, he's had 22 wins, 11 by way of KO, with 4 losses, 1 draws and 1 no contest. He weighed in at 8 stone 5.5 pounds and is the former WBO Super Bantamweight champion and comes to the ring as the reigning WBO Bantamweight champion, making the second defense of his title tonight, Daniel Jimenez. The referee, Mr. Gino Rodriguez, will now give his instructions to both boxers.
Final instructions then. Well, it's been a grim old time for British boxing just lately, with Frank Bruno, Nigel Benn, Eamon Loughran losing world titles and Paul Silky Jones being stripped of his. So we could do with some good news. Can Robbie Regan provide it for Wales? In the 104-year history of the bantamweight division, no Welshman has reigned at this weight. Jimenez crosses himself in the corner before the first bell. The referee, Gino Rodriguez from Chicago. Regan in his first fight at bantamweight in the yellow trunks, and it's for a world championship. His second and almost certainly final chance to become a world title holder. A brave little warrior, but will he be good enough against this fellow Jimenez, who's already beaten Duke McKenzie, the highly regarded Alfred Cote, Drew Doherty in his last defense. He's a knowing kind of fighter who has this way of just doing enough to prevail.
Jimenez very cool, very relaxed. He can up the tempo when he needs to do, or he can stand up and box.
Very, very competent. Whether he's one of the real greats of world boxing at the moment, though, is a more debatable point, I think, anyway. I don't think he's as good a fighter as Alberto Jimenez, who Regan fought for the flyweight title, but we'll see.
Well, Regan just landed with the first decent punch, and that was a right hand, a single shot, and it was a nice one, so he'll get a little bit of confidence from that. He said he's going to up the pace, he's going to be really on top of Jimenez, and I think if he does that, but also uses speed and is a bit careful, he has a very good chance.
Regan, 2 reigns as British champion, 2 reigns as European champion. Can he become a world champion at last? His little daughter, Kaylee, is at ringside, dressed in the Welsh national costume, watching this. Nice jab from Regan. One thing you do worry a little bit about Robbie Regan is he's had quite a few hard fights. There are a number of miles on the clock, aren't there?
Yes, there is, but he's got to put all that out of his mind here. He's got a big chance. It could well be his last chance. He's got to give it everything here tonight, and he can't give Jimenez too much respect. He's got to think, you know, tonight's his night and go for it.
Some good punches coming in from Regan in this opening round. He's covering up quite well, too, when Jimenez does his work. Looks as if he's just sort of in second gear a lot of the time, Jimenez, thinking, sizing things up.
Yes, it looks like Jimenez just wandering around the ring, just having a little look, just seeing what Regan has to offer.
9th world title fight this is for the Puerto Rican, only the 2nd for Regan. Just puts the punches together quite nicely, and they flow too. Good right hand, though, from Regan. He's a fiery little customer. Had some good wins at British and European level, particularly that one over Luigi Camputaro, who's a decent fighter, the Italian. Regan beat him. Not a bad opening round, that, for Regan. Welcome back at the Sophia Gardens in Cardiff, about 100 yards from here already. Wales have had a good day. Glamorgan beat Essex in the Benson and Hedges Cup. Can Robbie Regan make it a double? He didn't have a bad first round there, Glenn.
A nice first round. He'll get a little bit of confidence from that. And there's a good right hand. Probably his best punch, just landed, but a very cool Jimenez. But I think Regan getting confidence in that probably did enough to win that round.
Second round. Robbie Regan from Bargoed in Wales in the yellow trunks. And you can almost feel the crowd here in this arena living every second with him. They're anxious for him. They know him well. They've been here for a lot of his big nights. And they're trying to will him through tonight. Of course, they can't get in the ring with him. Jimenez, who calls himself the Cobra. He's not the first boxer to have given himself that nickname. Don Curry, of course, is the one that really sticks in the mind, the great welterweight who ended up being beaten by Lloyd Honeyghan. Good body shot there from Jimenez then.
Yes, he's just started to dip his head down a little bit, wait for Regan to come in and just try and get downstairs Jimenez and just work to the body a little bit.
Regan pumping away to the body and gets him with another good left hook, and that made Jimenez think of it. He really blinked and then frowned at Regan as that one landed.
Yes, they both landed with punches there, but Regan's was just the more effective because it was that little bit quicker, and that could be a big point for Regan. He could be just a slightly bit quicker with him there, so he's got to use the speed in this fight.
Regan, who has the kind of face that looks like it's going to puff up, already looking just a little bit reddened. That could be the lights, could be a bit of scar tissue from some old wounds. But he's prepared really well for this, as you'd expect. He says he feels a lot stronger and more comfortable at this weight, bantamweight, but that is the kind of thing fighters say before fights. Let's see if he is. He's made a good start here.
Yes, pretty good, and he's getting his hands up there. Jimenez is trying to let go with punches. Regan got his hands up very well.
Has to be said, too, that in that last offence against Drew Doherty, I thought Daniel Jimenez looked something less than sensational.
Yes, he didn't seem to be at his best. Maybe he struggled a little bit of the way, but certainly Regan's speed just getting to Jimenez a little bit.
He's the natural speed of the former flyweight. And Jimenez, whose natural weight is probably super bantamweight and not bantamweight. Just momentarily switched to southpaw for a moment there, Jimenez. This is another good round for Regan. If he can keep up this kind of tempo, his defensive work is excellent too. Gloves up, making Jimenez miss. Regan's doing well so far. So good for Robbie Regan as he bids to lift the WBO Bantamweight Championship here in front of his home fans.
And this is a good start for Regan. You see that left hook again, he's just getting them off because he's that little bit quicker from Jimenez, and he's got to use that. Speed could be a good factor for Regan in this fight.
Regan, who thought his career might well be over after his first world title attempt, his left hand was badly damaged and he felt that that could be the end, but it has mended. Been a career really where he's had frustrations, he's been foiled along the way, long waits for opportunities, winning and losing titles. Is this the night that he gets the big payback?
Yes, and I think that's how I've got it. Regan, 2 good rounds, a nice little start from him.
Very busy, Regan. And Jimenez at the moment just not really slipping into his rhythm at all. He's landing a lot on the gloves, he's missing a fair bit. All of those you see on the gloves.
Yes, Jimenez just picking up the pace, trying to throw a few more punches in this round. But as you said, Regan getting his hands up well and come back with that jab very nicely.
Jimenez's tactics may be to start going to the body to just slow Regan up a little.
And again, that little fast left hook from Regan was a good scoring punch.
The vogue word, of course, in sport is focused, and that is exactly what Regan looks here.
But on the other hand, Jimenez looks very, very relaxed, as if he does need to step up a little bit.
Keep the punches up, says the Chicago referee, Mr. Rodriguez, to Jimenez.
Jimenez slipped a nice little uppercut there and tried to land with the right hand, but that one didn't connect.
Straight right got through again from Regan. Again, that thoughtful look on the face of Jimenez, who might be starting to think this could be a tough defense. Not many people gave Regan too much of a chance going into this one, and the left hook was a good shot too. I tell you what, early on here, we just might have the makings of an upset, but let's stress, there's a long, long way to go.
But you just get the feeling that the speed of Regan, his sharp little shots, are just giving Jimenez a few problems there. He just can't quite get the measure of Regan.
Regan is not known for being a big puncher. He wasn't at flyweight. There's no real reason to suspect he would be at bantamweight, though he did have that very good two-round win over Farid Ben Judu, the Tunisian, for the IBF interim title last time. A good left hook, and that did seem to hurt Jimenez. Body shots looked a bit low as Regan tried to follow up, and they carry on fighting after the bell. I don't think they honestly heard it, but that was Regan's round again in a most emphatic way. That was his best round yet, I thought.
Yes, I thought it was. He finished it very well. The left hook was a good one. That just staggered, that hurt Jimenez for a second, and that would have given Regan a lot of confidence. He's in the fight. He's seen that Jimenez maybe isn't as strong, maybe isn't as impressive as he thought, and that's given him a lot of confidence. Now he's starting just to push forward, just to put Jimenez on the back foot and getting in with these sharper punches. You see that one? He was looking to grab there as the right hand landed. So not at all comfortable in the early stages, Jimenez.
I tell you what, Regan will have been mighty encouraged by developments in that round, because he did rock Jimenez with that right hand, didn't he?
He did. It was a good punch, and the legs just seemed to wobble a little bit. There you see the little left hook just knocked him off balance slightly.
And the referee had a little word with the timekeeper about making the bell sound a bit louder, because neither fighter heard it at the end of the third. Round 4, the yellow trunks of Robbie Regan of Wales. Daniel Jimenez from Camoy in Puerto Rico. A man who, well, the only defeat he's had recently in his career was against one of the modern greats, Marco Antonio Barrera of Mexico, the man we'd all like to see fighting Nassim Hamed one of these days. And he went the full distance with him as well. That was a fair old effort. So this is a tough technician, this Jimenez, who's seen most of it before. And although Regan has had the best of it early, there may be twists in the plot. Keep watching. Could be good, this. Can Regan keep up this tempo? Digging in, good-looking left hooks to the body, then getting out again. I must say, Regan is boxing to his game plan absolutely brilliantly so far.
Yes, he's boxing a very sensible fight. He's working hard. If Jimenez comes back with some shots, he gets his hands up very well indeed, blocks them all, and then comes back and pushes Jimenez back again.
Super right uppercut, too, from Regan. Short little punches from Jimenez, who isn't keeping up the same work rate as he did when he fought Alfred Cote and won this title. Alfred Cote, that's another fighter nicknamed Cobra, but that's another story.
Well, Jimenez is picking it up now. He's trying to and land a few more punches. So obviously he feels he's got to do something a lot better.
1 or 2 straying low there from Regan. Regan's almost saying to Jimenez, this is the kind of pace I'm going to set. This is how much I want this title. Now, can you live with this pace? Well, can he? Let's see. Good little right in there from Jimenez.
Yes, he just pulled away nicely then, brought down that choppy right hand.
But to be honest, there's a bit of a lack of variety about Jimenez's work so far. He's hitting the gloves and arms an awful lot. Again, a bit low from Regan. He'll have to watch that. He's been warned about that once before.
Yes, I think Jimenez is lacking a little bit of power. He just didn't seem to have the strength in his punches to keep Regan back that you would expect him to have.
Pose the question again. Does he find it hard to make 8 stone 6? Looks a bit flat, doesn't he? Well, Regan's winning this fight for my money. Welcome back to Cardiff, and growing excitement among the crowd in the Sophia Gardens here, because this fellow Robbie Regan is putting up a great effort so far. After 6 years as a flyweight, up to bantamweight, can he become a world champion? Wales is first at the weight if he does it. It's a big if. There's still 8 rounds ahead of us here. Round 5.
Well, it's good tactics from Regan because he's varying his work. He's going behind the jab and he's boxing a little bit, and then he's getting inside and working inside. So that's good. He's making Jimenez think a bit, and that's what he's got to do that. But I thought Jimenez just upped his work rate a little bit in the last round. He could have shared the scores in that round.
Well, Glenn and I disagreed about that one. I thought Jimenez was hitting the gloves and arms too much, but there you go. We don't always agree, thank goodness. Regan is the man who's taking the fight all the time to Jimenez, who's dodging this way and that on the ropes, trying to provide the lateral movement target, as it were. Regan trying to cut him off at the corners and get him with those hooks.
Yes, Regan forcing the fight. That always looks good with the judges to be doing that. He's trying to land the jab. Jimenez just looking for the counter.
Jimenez not doing too much really in this round. Slight change of tactics from him, a bit more mobility. Trying to set Regan some different targets, but it didn't stop the Welshman getting through with the left hand there. That's nice work on the counter from Jimenez, right and then the left hand. Both of them got through.
Regan has a bit of a bad habit of when he's going forward from punches, he opens his mouth very wide. He's got to be careful with that if Jimenez lands a good counter, because he could get some damage there.
Regan just finding Jimenez a little harder to nail in this round. He's giving him the old movement. Lots of angles now, Jimenez. He's thought about this. He's come up with a different game plan, and it's up to Regan now to do something about that. So here we go on kind of chapter 2 of this fight. And Jimenez, I think, likes these tactics better. On the way through, he just hops in 2 or 3 and then tries to get away again. But it's a sign, I think, that he's felt the weight of Regan's punches.
Yes, I think, and also getting a little bit frustrated by the good work rate of Regan. He turned out the corner very nice there, Jimenez.
Yeah, good skills that, wasn't it? Yeah, I think Jimenez won that round. 5 rounds gone, and in the 5th round, a noticeable change in strategy from the champion Daniel Jimenez, and he needed a change of strategy.
He did. He needed to, obviously, I think the corner will have said to him, listen, try something different now. So he did that. He used the movement, and that was good. He just started to give Regan a few angles and pick away with his nice little counters, and that worked well for Jimenez in that round.
6th round, moving on towards the halfway point. Regan, remember, in the yellow trunks, the 27-year-old Welshman. Well, he's trying to make Jimenez lead. Jimenez gives him a knowing, sage-like nod. Glenn has Regan leading by 2 points. I have him by 3 at this stage. Our opinion, of course, unfortunately for Regan, doesn't count. Only the 3 judges from Holland, Luxembourg and Canada. Oh, great right hand through the middle from Regan. Really rocked Jimenez's head back.
Again, I think an example of the speed of Regan, which has given Jimenez problems. He's just not expecting the punches to come as quick as that.
This is where Regan likes it. Now, Jimenez, you see, is not moving around the ring in this round. He's slowed up. Can he keep up that moving style if he is a wee bit tight at bantamweight, as we have a hunch he might be? It's only a hunch. Very important for Regan that he doesn't run out of ideas, run out of gas. He's just got to keep this up for the whole 12 rounds.
Yes, when Jimenez starts picking the pace up with his punches and start changing things around, Regan just hasn't got to accept that. He's got to still try and box the way he wants to box and try and push Jimenez around the ring, make Jimenez do his thing.
Some of Jimenez's punches have a kind of arm look about them, don't they?
They do. He doesn't look as if he's getting a great deal of weight behind his punches. And I think Regan looks to be hitting harder than Jimenez at this moment.
As you saw his head rock back again there when Regan landed.
Well, Regan keeps mixing his work up with the occasional jab, which I don't think Jimenez expects, and that rocks Jimenez's head back.
Out of range with the jab 3 times, Jimenez. Oh, well, now we're getting the psychological games in there, the mind games. Both trying to say to the other, hey, I'm in control here.
Yes, I think that could be a sign that Jimenez is starting to get a little bit frustrated by the speed of Regan. I think Regan's given him a good fight, and Jimenez is respecting that fact.
And I gave that round to Regan myself. I just thought he landed the better punches in the round. Now, I wonder what Barry McGuigan makes of things. We've got Regan in a handy lead down here. What about you, Barry?
Oh, yeah, I have Regan actually 1 round up at this stage, but he's still concentrating on his left hand. He's dominating with his left hand. He's throwing that big left hand all the time. He should be more fluid with the right hand that follows up. He's still loading up all the time. What's going to happen, he's going to begin to tire, and he's going to begin to feel the pace from the heavier man. But at the moment, he's boxing brilliantly. He's marginally ahead. This is some good work. He's landing the more telling punch, a good solid right hand. But again, the champion Jimenez takes a tremendous shot. And this is a bit of showboating here from Jimenez when he goes back to the ropes. We can't see his legs there doing the alley shuffle. But Regan doing brilliantly. He's got to keep the pressure on.
6 rounds gone. Opinions, I think, varying about this one, I think it's fair to say. Barry has it quite close. I've got Regan in a pretty handy lead, Glenn a bit less. Colin Hart of the Sun, we just had a quick word with. He motioned to us that he thought Jimenez was the business. So presumably he thinks Jimenez is winning the fight. So you'll have your own views at home.
Well, again, Regan lands with that good left hook. And I think Jimenez just starting to panic a little bit more. I think he realizes he's got to work. I think I've got Regan 2 rounds ahead. And I think Jimenez needs to find something a little bit special. He needs to start to make Regan feel the power of his punch.
A minute or 2 ago, Jimenez was just talking to him. I don't know if he's picked up a bit of English with all these trips to England. He must, and Wales it is now, just seems to like coming to Britain anyway. Usually wins here, doesn't he? Nice, good liquid movement from Jimenez. Again, Regan, just a little word from the referee, letting one stray low.
But again, the more powerful punches in this round look to be coming from Regan. He's the one who's trying to get a little bit of weight in his work.
Looks quite confident as well, Regan now.
Yes, I think as the rounds are going on, he's growing and growing in confidence.
There's a good uppercut in there from Jimenez. Didn't quite understand the crowd here, Glenn. They were singing away. Well, they are starting to sing away now. They've been noticeably quiet once the fight started. They were singing away during all the other fights.
I think they're becoming very engrossed in this fight.
Absolutely, yeah, as we all are.
It's that sort of thing. Everybody's looking for what each man's doing, because the one's getting off with a few shots, then the other one's coming straight back. An absorbing fight. Two good punches there from Regan to finish that flurry off.
And the four from Jimenez, suspicion that they landed around the arms or gloves. It's a tough round to score, this one. That's what commentators always say when they're not sure which fighter's won it.
Well, I think Jimenez is better work rate. He's starting to let more punches go. So this far in the round, I think Jimenez is just stealing it.
Still that suspicion, though, Glenn, that the more solid punches are coming from Regan. Two left hooks from right at the end of the round. Well, this is an interesting fight, and as you've heard, there are one or two opinions really as to exactly how it might be being scored. We'd love to get a sneak preview of the scorecards of the three judges from Holland, Luxembourg and Canada, working on Regan's left eye there.
Yes, Regan was throwing the stronger punches, and they were having good effect. I thought Jimenez was throwing slightly more, a little bit flashier in where he's getting off with his punches. The good body punches went in from Jimenez, but Regan finished the better with them two good little left hooks right on the bell.
It's one of those, this fight, where I think some people are watching a different fight to some other people. Not talking about Glenn and I, but just one or two of the press guys. Be interesting to do a little sample poll among them about how they might be scoring it. This is the 8th round. Glenn has Regan a point ahead. I have it bigger than that myself, but Barry McGuigan's got it pretty close too. We'll maybe pick up his opinion in a little while too. Round 8. An intriguing one. Wales have only had 6 world champions at any weight in history. Men like the great Jimmy Wilde, Jim Driscoll, Freddie Walsh, Percy Jones, Howard Winston and Steve Robinson, who's sitting right behind me.
Regan getting through with a good solid right hand there. And he's getting his gloves up. I've been pretty impressed with the defensive skills of Regan. He's getting his gloves up. That has been a good defensive maneuver.
Stop press, Glenn. Barry McGuigan has Regan 2 rounds up.
Well, it's a very interesting fight here. Good work from both men. But I think the good thing from the Regan camp is that he's looking very strong. He's not looking overawed at all. He's not looking as if he's in with a man who's a champion at the weight above him. He's handling himself very well indeed.
Jimenez had a fight last month, a non-title fight against the Mexican Alex Sanabria. He won in 5 rounds back home in Puerto Rico. Again, caught on the way in there, left himself open, did Jimenez. Good defense by Regan.
Yes, gets the hands up very well, caught all them punches. Again, they look pretty much arm punches from Jimenez. And Regan, the one that looks as if he's getting a bit of power in his shots.
I'm sure this is one of those fights, Glenn, where if you ask both fighters at this point, they'd both feel that they had a handy lead.
Yes, I think they both feel that they're probably doing exactly what they want and they're in control.
Good left hand getting through from Regan, whose depth of intensity and desire is impressive.
Nice little counter there from Jimenez, but I think more of the work in this round has been from Regan.
Oh, left hook! And Jimenez down in the 8th round. Can he get up from this? He's really rocked. He goes down to take the full 8 count. He's shaking his head. Can Regan finish the job? This World Championship is within sight. He's way forward. The referee gave him an age to recover, I thought, there. And the bell went. Oh, well. The referee, to me, seemed to give him an eternity to get over that. He got to 8. Jimenez refused to walk forward when he was told to, and then the bell went, and Regan couldn't follow up. Now that is a moment of real contention.
Yes, but what a wonderful punch from Regan. He really got all his weight, all the power into this punch. Just rolls into it, gets it right on the whiskers there, and he went down very heavily indeed, Jimenez. When he went down, it didn't look as if he was going to beat the count. Got a lot of power into that punch. Just timed it very well indeed. Just gets his balance right. Again, the speed of Regan has given Jimenez so many problems.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's Robbie Regan's considerable misfortune that there was not more time left in the round for him. Bad luck that the bell came to stop him, but can he do it now? Has Jimenez had enough time to let his head clear? Is he still feeling the effects of that punch? Regan really should be bombarding him now. He does not want to be standing off in this 9th round.
Well, this will obviously spur Jimenez into more action, but Regan has really got to go at it now and look for them punches. Look, especially the left hook. Look for that again.
What was that we said about Regan not being known as a puncher?
He certainly pulled that one out of the bag.
And what about the one he put Jidu down with in his last fight?
But in this fight, he's always looked as if he's carried more punch power.
He's hitting harder. Big round, that 8th for Robbie Regan. He was 80-1 with the bookies to win in that last round. By the way, he's 80-1 in this round as well. Jimenez takes a backward step. Looks a bit troubled to me, the Puerto Rican at this point. Looks a little bit as if he might be on the verge of being broken down. These heavier shots of Regan, I think they're getting to this man.
But this is where Regan has to keep the pressure on, but it's got to be a controlled pressure. He can't take chances because he's in with a very good fighter in Jimenez.
Thunderous foot stomping from all around the arena as Regan lands with another left hook. The Welshman now is on top in a very significant way. He's letting some of those body shots drift a bit low. But he won't worry about that too much, I don't think. Regan wants this so badly. It was a night of heartbreak for him against the other Jimenez, Alberto. Can he make it a night of joy, the night of his life tonight? It certainly would be that if he won.
And again, a good left hook from Regan just makes Jimenez take that step back, and then the jab.
Regan within sight here of British boxing's best night so far of 1996. But this Jimenez, I remember against Alfred Cote in finishing very strongly late on. Well, it's a weird one, this, isn't it? Everybody said travelling up the weights, he might be feeling the weight of Jimenez's punching. It's been the other way around.
Yes, completely, right from the opening bell. Regan has looked the man who carries more power. He's looked the strong man, so I think that obviously the switch in weight is suiting him fine. But maybe Jimenez is just struggling. It's maybe been one time too many to dip down in weight.
Regan's round again. Now then, one of the men that Daniel Jimenez has beaten in his distinguished career so far is our 3 times world champion, Duke McKenzie, who's with us tonight. Now then, Duke, what about this?
Well, Robbie's boxing absolutely brilliantly. You know, I'm glad to say it because it's about time somebody stopped the rock with Daniel Jimenez. But in Robbie Regan tonight, he's so fired up that to me, I think he's like 3 rounds up, and I think Jimenez is boxing so lacklustre. Robbie's just outworked him and outpunched him. I didn't think he could do it because he didn't look like he was big enough, but look at the way he's like digging to the body now.
Thank you, Duke.
Now he's bringing...
Well, there's an expressive look on Jimenez's face, isn't it? Thanks to Duke McKenzie for his comments. 10th round. Regan, is he 9 minutes away from becoming a world champion in front of his adoring Cardiff fans? Oh, Jimenez here. I think he knows he needs a big round here.
Yes, he must feel that this title is slipping away from him. He's got to do something very, very special in these next few rounds.
Regan's given it so much this far. One hopes that he's paced it right and isn't going to fade late on, from his point of view. But you've got to respect this Jimenez. Four-point lead Glenn has for Regan. Remember, the 8th round will have been a 10-8 round in his favour. Double the margin because of the knockdown.
Jimenez picking it up again. He's just changed tactics, getting on the move, trying to use nice fast counters. This is going to be a real test of character now. Regan has to keep the pressure on him, not give him too much room.
I suppose if there was criticism of Regan in that last round, he didn't really follow up the bridgehead he built with the knockdown right at the end of the 8th round. He didn't really tear into Jimenez in the way you might have wanted to see. Blood now from the mouth by the look of it of Regan, who's caught by a right on the way in. Jimenez just settling into some of his best work of the contest now. Some very classy combinations. Regan gets through with a right hand, though. That's where he wants to have him, and is on the ropes, gets through with another big right. The Puerto Rican is trying to counter, but again the suspicion that the heavier shots are coming from Regan. There's that left hook again. Tremendous action here in the 10th.
And Jimenez was getting through with quite a few in that corner. Regan hasn't got to forget the defense. He's got to keep his hands tight when he's inside there.
Jimenez is driving a few good-looking shots through as well. It's a good point Glenn made there, that Regan, there's always the danger that he could throw something away by just leaving himself a little too open and being a little too gung-ho.
This has been a much better round for Jimenez. He's picked it up a little bit. He had to do something, and he's come back with a much better round.
But why hasn't he fought at this tempo before?
I'm not sure. He seems to have woken up in this round. Certainly got a lot more bounce in his work in this round, Jimenez.
And I think the Puerto Rican won that round. That was probably the most impressive we've seen from Jimenez. At ringside tonight, Steve Robinson, there he is. Steve, who had a great reign as featherweight champion. Just along from him is Colin Jones, by the way, who was he's also working with the radio boys tonight. There he is, Colin Jones, who had those excellent fights with Milton McCrory. Should have won the world title, I thought, but there you go. It didn't quite happen for him.
Some good Regan work. He was pushing it. Again, he's got that mouth open. He's got to be careful with the counters, but I thought Jimenez worked well in there, and you see just at the end of there where Jimenez got through with these good combinations. Good left hook from Regan in there as well, but then just comes out 4 nice shots from Jimenez.
Joe Hernandez, the trainer for Daniel Jimenez, who's handled him since he was a kid. 2 rounds to go in a super fight here in Wales. A tremendous effort from Robbie Regan, and maybe a winning effort. Chance for Regan all around the arena. And we just don't know how the judges are seeing this. A lot may depend on how they saw those earlier rounds. Good stuff again from Regan, really jolting Jimenez's head back on his shoulders.
Yes, I think that's what he's got to start doing a little bit more in this round. Just use the jab a little bit, just not let Jimenez get set by his own punches. You can do that behind the jab just by keeping Jimenez off balance. Good solid jabs he's thrown all night, Regan.
One thing about Jimenez, I mean, we saw him have that very good 5th round when he changed the strategy, but then he became a more static target again, and he doesn't seem to have been sustained his good patches in the fight.
No, he hasn't. He's never really looked strong in this fight. It's been very good work by Regan, but he doesn't seem to have any strength, Jimenez. It's been a different sort of fighter.
Think he is tight at bantamweight?
Well, on this performance, he looks that way, but I must say Regan's boxed a tremendous fight. He looked very strong. Looks as if the moving weight has suited him.
Just getting a little swollen and puffy around the face, Regan now, and the blood coming from the mouth. He's beginning to bear the scars a little, mouth gaping open. Jimenez, it just never seems to mark up. It doesn't matter what you hit him with. Skin like teak. Regan trying to maintain the hustle, the bustle, the pressure. Jimenez trying to counter.
There's been some good counter punching from Jimenez, but I think Regan's work rate has just been the better in this round. He's forcing the fight. He knows the finish is not that far away, and he's really going for it.
Just to confuse the plot a little bit more, we're seeing this for Regan. Colin Hart of the Sun at the end of the last round had Jimenez 3 points ahead. It's one of those. Big left that was from Regan.
Yes, his quicker punches have worked well for him all night. And again, getting his hands up now in this round. That's better work from Regan.
Heroic effort this from Regan. And again, he rocks Jimenez back. And I thought Regan did the better work in that round. Is this his night? 3 minutes to go. What do you think, Glenn?
I think it is. He's just, for me, he's got to stay on his feet in this round, and he's won the title. It's been a gallant effort. He's really, this is the sort of work he's done. He's just stood toe-to-toe in this round. You can tell he wants this title so much. We saw him after his last attempt where he cried and cried. And he's obviously went in the gym. He's worked so hard. He's getting his chance again, and he's thrown everything here. Jimenez has been slippery, never looked to be really strong, but just, I think the sheer work rate of Regan has worked so well.
Daniel Jimenez, well, second defense of this title, but he reigned at super bantamweight before, made 4 defenses of that. A 2-weight champion, arrived here as a huge favorite. They touched gloves the last 3 minutes. And the big mystery is, how have the judges got this? Your guess is as good as ours. Glenn's scorecard has Regan 4 points ahead. And I've got it a wee bit more emphatic than that, but we could be wrong.
Regan got in with a good left hook there. He's still got to be very careful. He's got to watch the defenses. Regan can't take any chances at this stage. He's in with a good fighter.
Well, there's no doubt about it. This has been the performance of Robbie Regan's career. No question about that whatsoever. Win, lose, or draw. He's been brilliant tonight.
But throughout the whole fight, Regan is the man who's looked like he wanted to win, that he wants the title. And I think that could be the key factor at the end.
That's that tremendous passion and desire. It's as if all those setbacks and frustrations have hardened him, hardened his soul, hardened his spirit. He knows, to use the old cliche, that it really is now or never.
Well, Jimenez is pumping the arms, is trying to work, but unlike Corti, who just stood back, Regan is trying to work with him.
And remember, in reality here, there's no such thing as the hometown decision, although Regan is a Welsh fighter fighting in Wales because the judges are neutrals.
And this has been a terrific last round, very closely fought throughout. It's both men going punch for punch here.
Superb fight for this WBO bantamweight championship. Both of them really dredging out the last ounces of energy now. This is when all those rounds of sparring and all those miles of running, all the exercising, the daily drudgery of training, the monastic regime, this is where fighters need it. This late, the conditioning. Two left hooks finding the target from Regan. He's tired now, as he every right to be, but so too is Jimenez. A lot of these punches don't look to have too much in them this late.
Well, he's trying so hard in there, Regan. I think Jimenez is landing more punches in this last round, but Regan just isn't taking a step back. And
it is over. They both raise their arms a lot. They both want the decision. What do you think, Glenn? What's your scorecard saying?
I thought that was a level round. I've got Regan winning by 4 points.
I have Regan winning it as well. And he's going to be desperately unlucky after putting up a performance like that if he hasn't become a world champion fighting at home. But how have the judges seen it? We don't know. Plenty of discussions going on among the journalists. I can tell you as well, it's one of those that's got people arguing, like the old Sugar Ray Leonard Marvin Hagler fight of '87, when everybody seemed to have a different opinion. Glenn has it to Regan by 3. I thought you said you scored the last round level, didn't you?
Obviously, the excitement's getting to me.
Yeah. But these are the men who count. Henk Adriaans of Holland, Michael Fischer of Luxembourg, Harry Davis from Canada. Those 3 will score this.
Well, for the first time, Robbie Regan made a mistake because he just fell off the rope there. He was waving to the fans and fell backwards.
Frank Warren gave us a little look, asking us how we thought he'd scored it. Checking the scores now. I'm just looking at that particular card. That looks like a card for Regan to me, if I can read upside down. So that's 1. But we're not really supposed to do this, are we? Sneak previews of the cards. But I think Regan definitely did enough to win. I had him winning it by a pretty wide margin, actually. I thought he was always landing, or nearly always landing, the heavier shots, the quality shots. And a lot of Jimenez's work was flashy and liquid, languid kind of stuff, but it seemed to be on the arms and gloves, a lot of it. Great effort from Robbie Regan. Has he become the first Welshman in 104 years to become world bantamweight champion? WBO version, of course. Let's find out now. Mike Goodall, I think, is ready for us, the MC.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a unanimous decision. Judge Henk Andries scores the contest 116 to 113. Judge Harry Davis scores 115 to 112. Judge Michael Fischer scores 116 to 111. All three in favour of the winner and new...
Oh, he's got it!
Robbie Regan!
Delirious celebrations. Robbie Regan is the WBO bantamweight champion, the first Welshman ever to be a world champion at this weight. Only the Principality's 7th world champion in history, and what a payoff night for him. What a night for Wales. Amanda, his wife, Kaylee, his daughter, they're here to share it. It's undoubtedly British boxing's best night of 1996 so far, this. A thoroughly deserved win in my book for Robbie Regan. He dethrones Daniel Jimenez against all the odds, and that was a sensational display, a display I think that not many people thought Regan had left in him.
No, he really deserved that. He'd worked so hard throughout this fight. A real, a mark of character, a mark of determination to come back. He was badly beaten against Alberto Jimenez, and he's come back so well to win this title, and he thoroughly deserves it. It's been a wonderful night. He went to win the title.
Well, Jimenez has got a smile on his face. He's won in Britain so many times before, but not tonight. Robbie Regan, who shed tears of sadness and despair when he was beaten in a world flyweight title challenge. Tonight, he's a world champion at last. Emotional stuff. And Wales, who had been without a world champion since Steve Robinson was dethroned by Prince Nassim Hamed, now have another man to be proud of. He joins Prince Nassim Hamed and Wayne McCulloch as British fighters who are world champions. Of course, we're not forgetting Steve Collins of Ireland, the proud holder of the WBO super middleweight title. There's a man who's really paid his dues in this business and has deserved the payoff. British champion, European champion, now world champion, Robbie Regan. And I think they might be having a drink or two in his haunts of Bargoed and Blackwood tonight. Tremendous for the Di Gardner camp. Conga around the arena at the Sophia Gardens. Good stuff. Now, before, when he lost in his world title attempt, you might have seen Robbie Regan, if you were watching us with us on Sky Sports, and collapsing in tears with Barry McGuigan. Barry's down there waiting to interview Robbie again, and I think this might be an altogether happier occasion. But he's going to milk the moment, and he deserves to milk the moment. No protests, I think, from Daniel Jimenez. Blood coming from his mouth. They've got to sort that out. But it was his 17th fight in Cardiff in his 22 contests, but easily the most memorable. A night he will never, ever forget as long as he lives, Robbie Regan. And he's just about ready now to give the winner's interview. He talks for the first time as a world champion now to a former world champion, Sky's Barry McGuigan.
It's an altogether different night than it was the last time, wasn't it?
Stronger, you know, just going down a flyweight didn't take that edge off me, and I had the edge tonight, and you've seen what I done, and I can do better at this weight. That was my first fight at this weight, remember?
Absolutely fantastic. We talked about this last night, and we talked about pace and being the key to success here. And you really give it pace from the very beginning, didn't you?
Yeah. And, you know, he come back well after I dropped him there, which was a heavy left hook. And, you know, I was out of a shot to get back up off, and he come back, and he come well, and he showed what a good champion he was. So it means more to me to take it off. Such a good champion. A guy who beaten Duke McKenzie, Dave McCauley, and Alfred Cote. He beaten a lot of good men from Britain, but they haven't beat the best.
Absolutely brilliant. There were a lot of...
respect the other fighters, that is.
Indeed, there were a lot of the boxing media that weren't pretty sure whether you could do it or not. And in fact, I was one of them, but you proved me wrong. You were brilliant. You were absolutely fantastic.
And that surprised me a bit, because you know how good I can fight, and perhaps you thought coming up in weight would probably take that edge off me, but I show you what I can do at bantamweight, what I could do at flyweight, given the right opportunities.
Incredible. I know Guy Gardner and your whole team must be delighted with you, but that is a rich reward for you, richly deserved after all this time.
There's a lot of people I got to thank. First of all, I like to thank Emma's car sales. I like to thank Frank for getting me this fight. I like to thank Mizuno and Sportsplay and everybody for taking care of me up at Bryn Meadows. And there's also a guy who helped me right down to the gum shield, and you know who he is, and I like to thank him for that. And also my manager and everybody in the gym, they all know who they are. They all know what they mean to me. And also my supporters, they're the best in the world.
They certainly were, and they were really pleased here tonight. They were emphatically behind you, and you were tremendous.
Now my little girl, man.
Let's have a look at little Kaylee here. Go up there. There she is. She's your biggest fan.
Yes.
Are you happy?
Yeah, very happy. He's brilliant.
That's great. Tremendous.
Daddy brilliant?
Isn't Daddy? Daddy's a champ now, isn't he?
Is he champion of? Is he champion in the world? So yeah, tell him I'm the champion in the world.
Maybe I should go now to Frank Warren. Frank, where does he go from here?
He can have a little bit of a rest, and then we want Wayne McCulloch. If Wayne McCulloch's down at bantamweight, what a unification match. An Irishman against a Welshman. Be a great fight. Both boxers will make a lot of money. If Wayne McCulloch doesn't want to come up and fight Nassim Hamid, he's got no excuse not to fight Robbie.
Well, that's tremendous. I'll hand back now to Paul in the studio. And tremendous stuff, Robbie. Tremendous stuff.
Thank you, Barry. Well, as the party continues here, Sophia Gardens will pause for just a moment or two. They're taking in the news, which is shock boxing, certainly. A big upset here. And when we come back, the thoughts of Messrs. McGuigan, Piper and McKenzie.